Are you telling me that if you had the #1 pick in the NBA draft this coming season, you would seriously consider taking RJ Barrett ahead of Zion Williamson?
I would.
Yeah, and the visual is stunning. I hope they document what I'm becoming. Congratulations.
People's Kid, how we doing? It's your boy Kobe back at it again with another video, and as always, hope you guys are having a blessed day. With my last few topics focusing solely on the NBA, I thought it was time to go back to the college game for a quick minute to discuss two of the biggest names in amateur athletics. Yep, as RJ Barrett and Zion Williamson have equally teared it up this season in their freshman year at Duke, NBA GMs are going to have a difficult time deciding on which player to choose as #1 pick. While some believe it is a foregone conclusion that Zion Williamson should far and away be the #1 pick in this year's draft, I've started to change my tune a bit on this opinion and actually believe RJ might be the better prospect. And in this vid, you're going to hear exactly my reasons as to why. So with that said, sit back, relax, and let's get into it. On January 20th, 2018, Spartanburg Day School senior forward Zion Williamson announced that after thinking it over with friends and family, he would be attending Duke University to play under Coach K and join the other 3 McDonald's All-Americans. Immediately after the commitment, the hype surrounding Duke basketball took another gear, and Williamson's 2 million followers on Instagram, along with ESPN's love affair, made him the most talked about star heading into their college basketball campaign. Yet, despite the incredible attention paid to Zion in the offseason, it was Duke's RJ Barrett that ranked #1 among the high school basketball rankings to start the year. Having held the spot as the nation's top player since he was 16 years old, Barrett did nothing but impress in Duke's early preseason exhibition games in Canada, and then followed that up with a mind-blowing opening day performance against Kentucky. Now, Zion was definitely no slouch in these matchups either, but RJ did everything to rightfully claim he was still the best player in the country. In reality, it wasn't until the non-conference play continued where the separation between RJ and Zion began to grow in the eyes of NBA scouts. With the size and strength of college players proving to be an absolute joke for Williamson, he has shown to be far less prone to off games as a result of his ability to get easy buckets throughout the flow of the game. Evidence from his 70% field goal percentage and record-setting PER of 42.3, Williamson quite arguably has a case for being one of the most dominant college players of all time. Not surprisingly, after Zion's knee injury against North Carolina on February 20th, Duke's performance has dropped dramatically, but it was more shocking to see how lost some Blue Devils looked on offense without Zion on the court. Even Trey Jones, a player I have praised repeatedly in the past for his poise and defensive ability, is looking more and more like an offensive liability, and I'm questioning if he should even be thinking about leaving early for the draft. And with Cam Reddish embodying the word streaky with his up and down shooting performance, it has been up to RJ to keep the team afloat while they wait for King Zion to return. As I alluded to in the intro, not only has RJ taken on this duty, but I've been so impressed with him lately and his development that I am starting to think he might be the one NBA team should be tanking for. But before getting into my reasoning as to why, let me first say I am not saying RJ Barrett is a better player than Zion Williamson on this Duke team. That would be a false statement. In fact, in my decade plus of watching Duke basketball, I don't think I have seen any player be as impactful on the offensive and defensive side of the ball as Zion is in the course of a college basketball game. Yet, if we're talking about what we project to see on the next level between RJ and Zion, it's most definitely an ongoing debate with my slight nod to Barrett. Without further ado, here are my 5 reasons as to why. Number 5. The gap in injury risk between Zion and RJ is significant. I think I'll start this argument with a very simple and risk-averse reasoning as to why RJ is the better draft prospect. When it comes to Zion Williamson and his athletic ability, we've just about heard it all. From his high-flying dunks to his jaw-dropping "I can't believe he just did that" block, this once-in-a-generation athlete has been a treat to watch this year for Duke. Combine this with his reported 285 pounds of grown man body, you start to wonder if this physical makeup of his is even legitimately possible on NBA 2K My Career. Because no matter the defense some of the country's best coaches have designed to explicitly stop Zion, it hasn't even mattered. Yet having said this, for all the success Williamson has brought to the college game at the ripe age of 18 years old, it is fair to question if this model is sustainable 4 or 5 years down the road. At his current weight, we have already surpassed the precedent for an insanely explosive NBA player and what is perceived to be an increased chance of injury later in their career. While no one player is the same in their body makeup, it is not a coincidence we have seen the ones that rely most heavily on their athleticism sometimes pay a heavy price for it in the form of a severe season-ending injury. Even looking at the freak shoe injury play against North Carolina, it is obvious Williamson's benefactors will need to proceed with caution on how best to mitigate the risk of injuries derailing his career later on. On the flip side, while also very much explosive, RJ Barrett undoubtedly possesses much more finesse in his game than Zion, and this should help lower the possibility of succumbing to a major injury blow. Listed at 6'7" and 202 pounds, Barrett's leanness reflects a healthy and sustainable body profile that should be a boost to his durability during the grind of an 82-game NBA season. Of course, nobody can look into a crystal ball, and while there is definitely a non-zero chance RJ can tear his ACL in practice tomorrow, the injury risk comparison between Barrett and Williamson gives a clear advantage to RJ. Number 4, the rapid evolution of RJ Barrett's decision making. At the start of the year, if you asked me to provide a few positive characteristics of Barrett's game, I would include the obvious ones: size, length, scoring ability, maybe defensive upside, but decision making would not be one of them. To be blunt, I was actually a bit underwhelmed to see RJ's status as a decision maker early in the season, and wondered if this would potentially impact his NBA future. Too many times, it was clear Barrett settled for a shot that made absolutely no sense, mainly referring to the low percentage step-back two-pointers he had a horrible habit of taking. In addition, these moments often happened in conjunction with another bad habit of RJ's, which was his on and off tunnel syndrome, also known as not passing the ball when he absolutely should. As there is a fine line between confidence and selfishness, it is fair to claim Barrett fell on the wrong side a few times when you look at moments such as the final plays leading up to the Gonzaga loss in Maui. Yet, as we moved into 2019, I am thrilled to say RJ has definitely improved as a decision maker, evident from his increased efficiency in conference play and heightened confidence as a spot-up shooter. With Duke dying for three-point shooters, and even going to desperate lengths to find some, Barrett has arguably been the best option for Coach K behind the three-point line and can boast some impressive performances as proof. Although Zion should also be noted for strides made in his shooting, I would contend Barrett has achieved greater year-over-year development than Williamson, and this is certainly noteworthy in the discussion on how well their games will evolve over time. Number 3, RJ's path to NBA stardom is much more defined and/or formulaic. If some are confused by what this means, this is simply the idea of knowing what we already know versus not knowing what we don't know. By nearly all measures, Zion Williamson projects to be a productive NBA player, yet part of what makes him so appealing is that we have NBA draft scouts with 20 years experience unable to tell you what exactly he will be at the next level. Although it is certainly exciting to put faith in a player that has no ceiling or no model to compare him to, there is also an element of unpredictable risk if his game were not to develop into the unique hybrid NBA superstar some say he can become. For those that try to make the comparison to Charles Barkley or Blake Griffin, remember, Zion is 3 inches shorter than Griffin and 40 pounds heavier than Barkley. By the way, for anyone that wants to know, I'm comparing Barkley's playing day weight. Fortunately for Chuck, we don't know his current weight. Damn! So while Williamson may take pieces of their game with him, there is and will only be one Zion, and we will learn what this will be very soon. Now, pivoting to RJ, the game that he carries is a 100% proven business model that has worked for other current NBA stars. I mean, there are literally dozens of comps you can make with RJ, the most flattering being a slightly taller and leaner James Harden or a more ball-dominant DeMar DeRozan. Please don't confuse this with saying Barrett has a 100% chance of being an all-star. Rather, I am contending the blueprint for RJ to get to where he needs to be is right in front of him. It will really just come down to hard work, drive, and a coach that will give him the freedom to make mistakes while running the show. And although some might claim you can take this exact sentence and apply it to Zion, for the faint of heart at the blackjack table, sometimes it's not a bad idea to hold at 18 with RJ and let the dealer take the risk of busting, even when they're holding an ace. Number 2, RJ's ability to play point guard and/or primary ball handler at the next level. One of the more interesting developments this season for Duke has been our reliance on RJ Barrett as one of the main distributors on offense. Although not a point guard by any stretch, RJ is incredibly comfortable bringing the ball up and getting the team into their sets. When Trey went down for a few games, it was impressive to see how seamless a move it felt for Barrett to suddenly fill the role of a point guard. While I've touched on Zion and his passing ability being undervalued in the past, I'm finding it hard to picture Williamson will ever be a primary ball handler, regardless of what team he ends up on. As a result, no matter how you try to spin it, this is absolutely a disadvantage and provides a bit of a cap on his upside, if we're being honest. If we look at the top 10 players in the NBA, the list is dominated by versatile ball-dominant players who control the aspect of their team's chance of winning more than those who do not control the ball. In no particular order, NBA superstars today like LeBron, Harden, Curry, Durant, Westbrook, Giannis, Kyrie, Chris Paul, these guys are not just putting the ball in the hoop, but creating opportunities for their teammates to do so as well. For Zion to truly become an elite NBA player, he may not have to carry this in his repertoire, but it can definitely impact the bottom line of his team, which is winning games. Not to get too off topic here, but to make this point clear, if you were to tell me I could have either a guaranteed healthy present day Chris Paul or a healthy Anthony Davis right now for a full season, I am 10 times out of 10 taking CP3 without hesitation. Simply put, he's just a better franchise player when it comes to winning. And if I'm a GM, that is how I'm going to make my decisions. Even last year, DeAndre Ayton is a fine player and all, but after seeing what is going on right now with Luka Doncic and Trae Young, I wonder if Phoenix is having some regrets. Anyways, coming back to RJ, when I see him play at Duke, I see a player who can absolutely be that guy, who might one day give you 25 points a game, while also delivering 7 to 8 assists through the flow of the game. And to me, that is an invaluable distinction that separates his potential just a little bit from Zion Williamson. Number 1, RJ's competitive fire will drive him to become great. Mamba mentality. As NBA scouts have become more privy to this as of late, when it comes to the level of success a player in the league is going to have, the importance of a player's physical attributes are really only 10% of the battle. Honestly, it really only serves a checkmark for passing the initial test. Because if you think about all the physically gifted talent in this league, whether it be the crazy wingspans or mind-blowing first steps, there are some players that have the entire package in this regard and never even make it into a starting lineup. In reality, the real determining factor if a player has the it factor is all in the mental talent they possess, and I would estimate this to be the remaining 90%. Encompassing this mental talent includes all things from work ethic, to handling pressure, to bouncing back from setbacks. After watching RJ Barrett for a short time so far in his Duke career, I can say without a doubt he has the mental makeup of an NBA superstar. From the way he carries himself on the court to some of his post-game interview comments, it is quite easy to see RJ Barrett is a stone cold killer.
What were you guys talking about leading into this one?
We love road games. This is why we wear black, because it's their funeral.
When did you realize that you guys had this game? There were like 12 lead changes in the second half there.
From before the game started.
Although some might call RJ's swagger a bit arrogant, he carries the same personality of other former NBA greats. And while I can't argue Zion doesn't have a killer instinct because I believe he certainly does, I just find Barrett's inner alpha and desire to be the number one option more profound. If we're splitting hairs on who's the better NBA prospect with all else equal, this in my opinion tips the balance in favor to RJ. But as you can see from my perspective and analysis, from purely judging their games, I don't believe this to be a 50-50 debate and contend RJ to be the better prospect from what I've discussed. Now, in the case of selling tickets and rebranding an NBA franchise from a business perspective, well, Zion Williamson at number 1 may be too hard to pass up, as his game clearly carries the charisma that will have fans tune in to watch him every single night. In final review, I guess at the end of the day, when it comes down to deciding between Zion Williamson or RJ Barrett at number 1, it really is a beautiful problem to have for one lucky NBA team. Anyways guys, that's the video, hope you enjoyed. Again, making the case for RJ is in no way trying to slander Zion Williamson, who I absolutely love. He is one of the most humble players I have ever seen for the profile he currently has. On top of that, I also don't think there is much chance Zion becomes a bust, as his motor when he's on the court is simply top notch. Let me know what you guys think. Do you agree with RJ Barrett over Zion Williamson, or do you think I'm talking crazy? Drop your comments below. With that said, hope you guys have a great rest of the day or night or whatever time it is. Like, subscribe, you know the drill. I'll be back at it soon. Peace out.